clearly the third secret is talking about the apostasy. And we have a lot of signs for that. But one that recently made some headline news on January 6th of all days, the Feast of the Epiphany, when God manifests himself, is that Cardinal Robert McElroy of San Diego is now being named the Archbishop of Washington, D.C. by Francis.
Yes, and Cardinal McElroy is definitely a modernist bishop. Or cardinal, actually, I should say, a modernist cardinal. And he did nothing about the, sexual abuse crimes of Cardinal McElroy. In fact, I read that there was somebody involved with that whole sexual abuse crisis who said that she's terrified the fact that Cardinal McElroy is now going to be in this position, and he's also a cardinal who has no problem giving communion to politicians who publicly support the crime of abortion. He has no problem with that. He definitely supports Father James Martin and everything that Father James Martin teaches about these alternative lifestyles. So definitely he is a modernist cardinal. But I am in Canada, so maybe, David, you could explain to me why it is so concerning that he has been made Cardinal of the Archdiocese of Washington. What's so important about that diocese?
Yeah, I've definitely got my take on that in talking to individuals. Some people think it's Francis trying to sort of raise a voice of opposition to what Trump might be doing. There certainly might be that angle, but I think what is far more important and far less Catholics know about is that for some decades now, certainly going back to the pontificate of John Paul II, the two main episcopacies in the United States became Chicago and Washington, D.C. And basically what the Pope has done is he sort of split the United States into two areas. The Mississippi River is a good dividing line, and all the appointments to new bishops east of the Mississippi are basically controlled by the Cardinal of D.C., and all the ones west of the Mississippi are controlled by the Cardinal in Chicago. And what I mean by that is that, the Pope doesn't know a lot of people in the United States. He doesn't know who to nominate. So in every country, the Pope does rely on various men he picks, cardinals, to sort of say, well, who should I make the new bishop of whatever it might be, the diocese of this or that city, of this or that place. And so now with McElroy being put in D.C., it's just going to be more of the individuals who think like him. And Supich is in Chicago. So we have two of the absolute worst bishops in the United States who in many ways show many signs of falling into the apostasy themselves, as being the ones who are now going to be having privileged access to name new bishops, which shows that apostasy is going to deepen. So that's my really, really big concern there with McElroy being named to D.C.
It's interesting because Sister Lucy and Pope John Paul II both referred to chapters 8 to 13 of the Apocalypse, and there's mention in there of a third of the stars falling from the sky, right? And stars in biblical language is the bishops of the church, right? The prelates who are spiritual leaders falling from the sky. So that definitely shows, at least a third are in apostasy, right? So that's.
Yep. And this star has fallen hard. I have a number of good friends and know quite a few people in San Diego. Back when I lived in El Paso, we used to go out there about once a year. So I had called up my contacts to find out more about him. These are people on the ground. So some of this stuff you may not always read about. But just so you know a little bit of like McElroy's resume, he was ordained in San Francisco in 1980 by Archbishop Quinn. Those who might know the name Archbishop Quinn and the Am Church scandal know he's been very deeply involved in the whole homosexual lobby that has taken control of the church, certainly on the West Coast. Well, he was one of his guys. And he went through Jesuit studies, really got into sort of liberation theology, more communism at work here. He's written on quote unquote social ethics, basically just wokeism. So that's who he is. In 2015, he was made the Bishop of San Diego. And then in 2022, Francis made him a cardinal. They were at a local question and answers that was related to the synod that they were having in San Diego. And people began to ask him about a certain individual named Aaron Bianco. Aaron was a very proud homosexual. He was working at St. John the Evangelist as part of the parish team. And he would always talk about his wife, who was a man. And the people of the parish were getting very, very upset about this. And when they brought this up to Bishop McElroy, he basically defended the position of having him on staff, which is not a way to represent the Catholic faith at all. In the end, this individual did leave of his own volition, although I read that Francis invited him to speak at the Vatican, this Mr. Aaron Bianco, and now he's been hired in the Diocese of Lexington, Kentucky, just south of me, by Bishop Stowe, another one that belongs to that little homosexual mafia, really, to be the director of worship in the diocese. So, I mean, you can see what kind of people we have here and all the signs that it is apostasy. Just in June of 2024, he declared the San Diego diocese bankrupt due to clerical sexual misconduct over the previous 8 years, which is all under his tenure. So all of these things are happening under his tenure there in San Diego, and now the people's money is going away. Obviously, during COVID, he shut everything down, and he certainly didn't care about funds because they were getting millions and millions of dollars from the federal government to support the illegal immigration streaming across the border from Tijuana. He has banned the traditional Latin Mass in the diocese, shut it down and shut it down hard. Now it's only allowed in one Indian mission on the Pala Indian reservation, not even in a church. They're stuck in an auditorium. They're not allowed to grow. They're not allowed to advertise. It's not on diocesan property. They have no heat and no water there, and people have to drive a long way just to get to the one Latin Mass near them. And then he went ahead this year also started attacking homeschoolers. A number of them were renting out space, like in the evenings in various parishes, so they could meet and have their classes and parents helping their children. And he banned that. He put out a memo to the whole diocese saying no one is allowed to rent any space to homeschoolers. We do not want homeschoolers, Catholic homeschoolers, on our parish property. So these are just some of the signs that show you the kind of individual that Francis is now making the Cardinal Archbishop of Washington, D.C., one of the most important posts in the United States. Clear signs of the apostasy, clear signs that we are in Fatima time. This is what Our Lady was telling us about in the third secret of Fatima.
Definitely, because when a Catholic cardinal or a Catholic bishop, is attacking faithful Catholics who are trying to teach their children the faith or attacking the traditional Latin Mass, you definitely know that they don't have the faith. They've either lost the faith or they never had it to begin with. But definitely, this is the apostasy in the church. Absolutely.